A regional tournament is set and a successful senior weekend for one of your Minot hockey teams. May I present to you guys an episode being recorded late at night. It is currently 11:20 on the 17th of February, so we are on that late night grind. And hey, why not? I mean, we're getting work done, just kind of at an unusual time frame. I tried recording earlier at home on my computer, but I just could not deal with the quality of the audio for that one, so I just decided, might as well do this in studio. And hey, it's still President's Day, so happy President's Day to you guys. Hope you had fun and enjoyed the day off. And then another day off for certain MSU students tomorrow as well, due to assessment day. So I want to welcome you guys into episode 22 of the Minot Sports Podcast, a production and sponsor of KMSU TV and Radio and Joshua Strong Photography. And we got a new sponsor, or rather kind of a supporter of the podcast, or sponsor, whatever you want to call it. We'd like to welcome MSU Red and Green as a new sponsor of the podcast. MSU Red and Green is a student-led organization that produces and releases the campus newspaper every other Thursday and is your number one source for news and stories around Minot State. So we are lucky to have them on board this time around. While they are focused on getting news around Minot State campus, we over here are trying to get news around the Minot sports world. Another eventful weekend, as like all weekends are with Minot sports. We had a few senior days and senior weekend involving some Minot State athletics. We now have a matchup for West Region Boys Hockey. I'll get more into that later, and much, much more to talk about. We'll start out with some senior festivities going on with the Minot State men's hockey team. The Colorado Buffaloes from the University of Colorado Boulder, they were here in Minot for a weekend tilt against your MSU Beavers. The first matchup was a steamroll by the Beavers. The final score was 9-1, and the Beavers just had everything right going for them in that one. So for a game summary, 78, Davis Sheldon opened the scoring in the first period for the Beavers, although Colorado did get the first goal just over 2 minutes into it, but Beavers were able to match that with a tally of their own by Sheldon. That was all the scoring in that one. Beavers got 2 more in the second period. A shorthanded goal by Joel Swedlow, one of the seniors. And then Drew Carter got on the board, so make that 3-1 after 2 periods for the Beavers. And then the third period, this is where they just absolutely run away with it. In the third period, we had goals by Adam Wowrick, Davis Sheldon again. That was actually his 20th on the year now. Kent Walchuk, another senior, scored. And Landon Cochran scored a hat trick. So Beavers show off their domination once again. The second game was not quite the same, yet it still produced the same result for your Beavers. Not high scoring at all, but the Beavers still did enough to get the win. It was 3-1 on Saturday's game, where they honored the seniors, those guys being Blake Fournier, Dylan Johnson, Alex Bechtold, Holden Kurtz, Josh Baitkowski, Kent Walchuk, and Joel Swedlow. As always, thank you guys for everything that you do in the Minot sports community. Like I mentioned already, the Beavers did not score much in this second one. After a scoreless first period, Blake Fournier drew first blood for the Beavers. Shortly after, the Buffaloes tied it. So kind of a role reversal for both teams from the night before, with Colorado scoring first on Friday, but then this time MSU gets the first goal on Saturday. Third period proved to be the turning point as Wade Johannesson broke the tie, and then a power play goal by Jordan Robertson sealed the deal. Both senior goalies got a chance to start, and boy, did they prove magnificent for them. Only one goal given up on both games, and that concludes a successful senior weekend for the Minot State men's hockey team. It is crucial that they get these wins down the stretch in preparation for the Nationals tournament coming up in March. They did so strongly to surpass that fast start by the Buffaloes in the first game, and then they just took over the driver's seat from there. There was hockey played before the Beavers. On Saturday, we had the Minot High Jets team face off with West Fargo United, and although the East has been a hockey hotbed for North Dakota hockey teams, the Jets will take this one in an exciting overtime frame. Emily Thiele gets the game winner. Low scoring in this one. It was 2-1 for your Jets. Brenna Abrahamson got the first goal for the Jets, and West Fargo tied it kind of in the middle stages of the third period, and it was just tightly contested defense for really the entire game. So for the Jets to pick up the win in OT, that is good stuff to be witnessing. Going back over to Minot State, we had more basketball action. The final weekend of home basketball action for your Minot State Beavers for both the men's and women's teams. Two Minnesota teams, Crookston and Bemidji State, came to face off with the Beavers. Friday was a good night for the women's team as they beat University of Minnesota Crookston with a score of 77-66. Callie Delsman going crazy, fellow broadcasting major, gets 17 points in Friday's matchup. And then senior day on Saturday was spoiled by Bemidji State. It was an 83-54 score. Bemidji State just too much to contain for Minot. Mariah Payne, Raina Strand, and Danielle Rosari were the seniors that were honored on Saturday. And then for the men's team, they did not fare so well against Crookston. Score in that one was 80-69. And then senior day on Saturday, the Beavers were in it in a tight race, but Bemidji State was able to pull away from the Beavers' attack. That score was 73-65. Kyle Beisch hitting a career high of 30 points that game. He, along with Trevor Rostein, were honored as the two seniors getting ready to graduate for the men's basketball team this spring. So 1-3 on the weekend for the basketball teams. Moving on to boys hockey. For Minot High, we have an update. The play-in game with the winner moving on to face Minot High for the West Region Hockey Tournament set to happen this Thursday in Bismarck. The game between Hazen-Beulah and Botno Rugby. And the Braves from Botno Rugby beat Hazen-Beulah 7-4. They will go on to face Minot for the first round of West Region tourney action. So Minot, the 1 seed, will face the 8th seed in Botno Rugby. Nick Murphy said it right. They want to start fast, indeed, and probably set the tone for themselves in a tourney like the West Region tourney. Switching back over again to Minot State, wrestling was in action with the Beavers facing off against in-state rival the U-Mary Marauders, and it stinks losing to the rival opponent. U-Mary wins that matchup, not close, 35-6. On the plus side, a new season for Minot State baseball was underway this past weekend. Beavers traveled to Missouri to face the Missouri S&T Miners, and the Beavers take Game 1 9-6 with 9 hits, only 1 error, and then they lost Game 2. Did not get a final score in that one, but they had to stop the second game due to darkness settling in at night. But they finished that one up in the morning, or just whenever they were able to, I guess. But for Game 1 on Sunday, your Beavers with 8 hits score 5 runs, no errors, 5-4 the final over Missouri S&T. And then they do it again in Game 2, subtract 1 to each box score, and you get a 4-3 victory for your Beavers in their season opener, going 3-1 this past weekend. One WDA tournament that I think I did not give enough coverage of, although it was rather only one day. Your Minot High Magicians wrestling team, they were in Watford City to compete in the aforementioned West Region tourney for wrestling. Chase Burke and Preston Jones are victorious. As far as, I guess I'm not really sure what else to call them, but as far as the singular matchups go. But when it comes to the team matchup, the Magicians placed third and qualified 15 wrestlers for the state tournament that is coming up very soon here and around the same time as the West Region tournament for boys hockey. I will keep you updated when that comes around. Minot High Swimming continues to pump out victories left and right. They amassed a final team score of 643 points in the Mandan Invite. That is good, once again, for first place. In District 12 girls basketball, Mulhall Lansford Sherwood beat RE Deemers in the District 12 Tournament Championship by a score of 50-37, and then Bishop Ryan beat Surrey 62-36 in a regional qualifier. And the Minotaurs, just before getting ready for the Top Prospects tournament, they had a few games in St. Cloud, Minnesota this weekend, and the Toros wrecked the St. Cloud Blizzard in Game 1 on Friday night, tying their franchise record in goals in a game with 11. Goals scored for the Toros were by Dan Russell twice, Kyler Clevin twice, Sam Skinner, Owen Bumgarner, Braden Bartu, Vili Emanen, and Cade Stibbe with the hat trick. And then Saturday, the Toros played a little more friendlier, but still shutting down St. Cloud with a score of 5-0. Dan Russell continued his nice weekend, scoring another goal. Jay Buckholz got on the board. Cole O'Connell, the captain, scored twice. Wilhelm Wasberg also scoring, and then AJ Ruskowski gets his first shutout as a member of the Minot Minotauros. Some news from the North American Hockey League. Kyler Clevin was named the Central Division Star of the Week for February 10th through the 16th. And then some of the Toros prospects showing out for the Top Prospects tournament. Goals scored for the NAHL Selects Blue Team by Cole O'Connell and Dan Russell, and then O'Connell added an assist, and then Jay Buckholz got 2 helpers, and Sam Skinner also contributed as well. And then, of course, continuing of more broken old records by MSU Track and Field, I will have those posted on the Twitter and the Instagram account as well. Let's talk more on these prospects here. Because these guys, they're playing in front of NHL scouts. And whenever those guys are in town, you always want to make an impression. But the thing with the NAHL Top Prospects Tournament, by the way, I've heard some good things about this tournament so far, is that these are kind of a way to play with the best and play against the best of players from around the North American Hockey League. Kind of like an all-star game. It also helps in preparation for their future college hockey careers. Because the NAHL is good at that. Getting players prepped and ready for the next level that these players will be getting into. So kind of a best-on-best tournament definitely maximizes their playing level, and that will indeed help their growth into these future college hockey players. I've also heard some good things about the Beavers baseball team. After all, they did win the NSIC championship for the regular season a couple years back, so they should still continue to play well into this season and the next few. And this past weekend proved just that. These Beavers are proving right now that they can win in tight games. They can win games where the score is a little separated. But like I said earlier, a new season of Beavers baseball is upon us. Just like all the other Minot sports, we will take it with great interest. To tally up all the matchups from the weekend, we had Minot High Magicians basketball in Jamestown to face the West leading Blue Jays, so number 1 up there in the standings. Minot beat them earlier in the season, but they were unable to this time around, with Jamestown getting the victory 93-84. But it was the opposite for Majets basketball as they continue to add on to their win total this year as compared to last year. They beat the same Blue Jays 49-42 over at MCC. And before Majets hockey played West Fargo, they lost to Fargo North South by a score of 5-2. So it is important that the Majets were able to rebound from a loss. And there you have it for the matchups from this past weekend. Just want to remind you guys that the Minot Sports Podcast is sponsored by KMSU TV and Radio, Joshua Strong Photography, and MSU Red and Green. That is it for this one. I want to thank you guys again for checking in into episode 22 of the Minot Sports Podcast. I'll talk to you guys later, and as always, take care.